Alright, so I can't do the Raw review how I'd like to do it from the comfort of my home because I'm on vacation. But even when I'm on vacation, I'm still doing work for this 12 views. Thank you. So, we're going to talk a bit about Survivor Series, the ending of it, and then we're going to talk about Raw, and we're going to talk about. I was pretty sure that people were going to get drafted. Apparently not, but we'll get to that one. Kicking off with Survivor Series, I just want to talk about my thoughts real quick on it because I didn't do a video on that either because I'm away. Toronto was good. NXT Takeover Toronto was phenomenal. So, I mean, hey, it's NXT. I mean, what do you expect from NXT? Chris Mullen Jr. is here. So I'm doing this live, by the way. So anybody who's seen the review after, it's because I had to do. All these people are joining. What the heck? So I'm doing my Raw review, but I'm also talking about Survivor Series the night before, and I'm doing this live so everybody can just chime in and tell me what they think and whatnot. So yeah, um, as I was saying before, NXT Takeover Toronto was pretty good. I liked it, but let's get and there's Kelly right there, Mr. DIY yourself. I'm not even gonna make the joke, but let's talk about the ending to Survivor Series. And I know a lot of people have mixed reactions on it. I am a huge Lesnar fan. Like, the guy's a beast. And to see my 50-year-old, or Ryback's 50-year-old, father come in and just wreck house, I wasn't too keen on that. But, now that we got to Raw, seeing him in the Royal Rumble, sure, as number one, not a good idea. Hopefully he's not number one. As number 30, maybe not a good idea because it's kind of obvious he's going to just go in and dominate unless, as a lot of people are predicting, Lesnar's going to come in there and throw him out. So hopefully that's not what's going to happen. If you guys have any thoughts, just chime to me. I'll respond to them and whatnot. But yeah, kind of hyped up on Sprite. So um, I was looking at some statistics, by the way, in terms of Lesnar and Goldberg. Not good in terms of like the average Goldberg match. I mean, the average Goldberg match typically lasted over 2-3 minutes, and to see this one last only a minute and 25 seconds is really bad. Um, I mean, if Goldberg had shoulder troubles from picking up Rusev, I want to see what he looks like after picking up Lesnar last night. So I'm not big on I'm not big on Goldberg. I'll say that I've never been a fan of Goldberg, and that's why I never really liked the Ryback style of things. I think Ryback's style was too similar to Goldberg, but at least I'll give Ryback this. Ryback had long matches. And I think that's one thing that after watching Survivor Series, I'm actually taking this away. Is I'm probably more of a fan to Roman Reigns than I've ever been. And I mean, I didn't like Roman Reigns really at all. We'll get to Goldberg shirtless son, but I want to give props to Roman Reigns for actually props to Goldberg for changing my mind on Roman Reigns because I wasn't big on Roman Reigns at all. But after I saw his performance at Survivor Series in the big 5-on-5 match, Roman Reigns isn't the typical I'm gonna squash you next person, feed me the next person for WWE, as they've tend to do with Strowman and Nia Jax. Um, so you can definitely see the improvement there. And if you look at Goldberg's career, some of his longest matches, I think even his longest match, even going maybe 20-ish, 15-ish minutes. I mean, he was a part of the Rumble that Benoit won. Can't really talk about that because it's Benoit, but so this will definitely be a very interesting Rumble to see. There's that, but I really want to know what's next for Lesnar. I think that dude can wrestle. I'm really curious to see what's next for Lesnar. Um, I mean, people are kind of pointing towards Conor McGregor that's one possibility. But that's still kind of poisonous to the locker room. That's like when they had Kevin Federline show up and face John Cena, or Floyd Money Mayweather take on Big Show. It's just one of those odd things. And I think if you were to see McGregor in the WWE ring beat Lesnar, which would probably would need to happen, it'd kind of be sad. Because Lesnar's going downhill real fast at that point. Um, but I mean, it's the true fact of like Lesnar doesn't have too much to do in the WWE, and for old man Goldberg, I don't think he deserves a world title when the man can't have a match typically past 10 minutes. You know, people say 5 minutes. I'll give him 10 minutes. Thanks for the hearts, by the way. But, who has worse cardio, Goldberg or Bull Dempsey? I mean, to be honest, Goldberg said that he trained for a long time for 2 spears and a jackhammer. And then people want to chant, "You still got it." For those 2 moves, 2 different moves, all right? We'll give him a shove, all right? Lesnar picked him up, threw him in the corner. Goldberg was like, "Nah, I'm not having none of that. I'm the Superman to my shirtless 10-year-old son." Not going to bash his son at all, but that was random. I mean, I don't know what was going on that night, why he just felt the need to just gonna throw it out there. But anyways, let's talk about Raw, and that's kind of Survivor Series. I guess for people wondering what I'd give Survivor Series and NXT Takeover Toronto, NXT Takeover Toronto, I give it a 9, maybe 9.5. It was great. Survivor Series, on the other hand, I've seen people say like perfect 10. You know, I'm gonna say 8.5. It wasn't better than NXT Takeover Toronto in my opinion. But the one thing Survivor Series did was whoever you thought was going to win the match mostly ended up not winning the match. I was betting on Team Smackdown to win the big match, and they did. I was thinking Raw was going to win the women's. They did. I didn't think Raw was going to win team actually, and I bet against Brian Kendrick, and I wanted the Miz to win, but I didn't think the Miz was going to do it, but he won it. So there was that. Pre-show stuff was pretty good. It was a very long pay-per-view that I watched from my phone because I don't have my computer, so sitting against the couch watching all of these pay-per-views, it was kind of weird to see watching Raw for once on a television screen instead of on my computer also. So, but let's see, what do we got in the chat? He still got it. That's all he does back in the day too. Match of the weekend. DIY versus the Revival. I don't know what it was, if it was like a God sent match, but that was the match that when I first got into town, actually, I got into town at roughly 7 o'clock. I picked up Domino's, went to my grandma's house, then came back here at a friend's house where we're staying at, and that was the first match I saw, was DIY versus the Revival, and I honestly didn't want to see the rest of the pay-per-view after that because I didn't think they could beat it. I was like, wow, I came back for the best match. Nakamura versus Joe. Joe won. I think Nakamura, I don't think they're going to bring him up to the main roster. It'd be cool if they did, but I think after what happened to Aries, it might be the Dana Brooke effect, as Dana Brooke didn't want to get the heck beat out of Asuka, so they're just going to throw up on the main roster, whereas Nakamura, they don't want him to beat up all the young people, so they're just going to throw him up on the main roster. That's a possibility too. So, but match of the weekend, definitely DIY versus the Revival. I've always been a big fan of the Revival. Great Southern boys. And then DIY, I've not been the craziest fan about Tommaso Ciampa, whatever you want to call him, but Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, great, always been great. One of those like under the low key like Jimmy Jacobs style guys who, it's great to see him succeeding. Especially because Jimmy Jacobs really couldn't, because he was doing some weird backstage stuff with Adam Rose at the time, and now he's doing like some other stuff. But Raw, let's talk Raw. Quick mention: I'm just gonna jump around for Raw basically, but quick mention for Jericho wearing a Sin Cara mask. I legitimately was like, wow, they're throwing Sin Cara into the main event. Thank God that didn't happen. But if you get the reference of why Chris Jericho is wearing a Sin Cara mask because of the fight that he had with Sin Cara, you get a cookie today. So, congratulations there for Jericho being a smart ass. So, I think Kevin Owens had to retain the title in his hometown. Sorry, Seth, but he had to. That was a great match. Nia Jax and Charlotte. Wow, I never thought I'd be more happier for like a tag team of like women you generally do not like. I mean, I like Nia Jax. She's a great woman. But Charlotte, even from North Carolina, like, nope. So, but it'll be interesting to see next week. I think next week I'm probably gonna say this right now. My prediction next week is she'll drop the belt in her hometown for some weird reason. So that will happen. Let's see what else happened. We had the tag team match with the New Day, who, by God, need to drop the belts already, but they're probably going to beat the record. Sheamus and Cesaro, everybody. They're great. They deserve to be on Team SmackDown doing world title stuff. Specifically Cesaro. That man by now, he should be facing AJ, in my opinion. Great worker, great overness. Just there's too many people. There's too many people on Raw with clashing personalities to make him rise above the rest. He's kind of in that weird area of like he's over, but he's not. And at the same time, you have Kevin Owens, who's like a ridiculously over heel. Seth Rollins, ridiculously over face. And you got Roman Reigns, who's a ridiculously over just guy who neutrally you want to boo and cheer for. And Cesaro's not a guy who you neutrally want to boo or cheer for. You just want to cheer for him. And I think when it comes to baby faces going above, it's kind of harder, especially when you have guys like Enzo and Big Cass. So that segment, if you get the reference between Enzo standing next to Lana because of her name, hats off to you. Most definitely, that was great. But to jump back to the opener, don't want to talk too much more about Goldberg and Lesnar because by God, let that just be over and done with and get to the next part of my watching for wrestling, because I wasn't thrilled about them having another fight, and then to see the fight be even worse in my opinion than WrestleMania 20, being only a minute and 25 seconds, which they want to say minute 26. The extra second doesn't really matter, but Goldberg at the Rumble. I think we're definitely going to see Goldberg and Lesnar 3 at Mania, and I think that will be when Lesnar's going to beat up Goldberg. To see Goldberg get 3 wins over Brock would be ridiculous in my opinion. Because we've taken 4 years of booking of Brock Lesnar beating the crap out of John Cena. And literally cracking John Cena, honestly, when it came to letting guys like Daniel Bryan, Punk, a whole lot of other people, is that Brock Lesnar was the guy that cracked the shield of John Cena and let him kind of get beat up by all these other people, and help put them over, like Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. Like, I think the invincible, godlike Superman streak of John Cena was cracked because of Lesnar, in my opinion. And so to see that, with Lesnar, he had his invincible streak broken in a way that was not even realistic. I mean, John Cena, sure, at the time, 16 German suplexes to beat John Cena, that might be the key, and that might be logical, but maybe not. It's long term, and I think long term, people from now on will say, great, it was good to have Goldberg back for one more match to be with his shirtless son, but at the end of the day, a minute and 25 seconds, I mean, if I wanted to go see a better fight, in my opinion, I would have seen, my my favorite wrestler of all time, CM Punk, get beat up in the UFC. I would have honestly seen that and been like, "You tried, Punk. Lesnar, you tried. It wasn't in your favor tonight, but you still had us, SummerSlam." So, but let's see what else happened tonight. Rusev squashing Enzo. I'm really gonna like this Rusev and Big Cass feud. I think that'll be a big feud in my opinion. We're feeling that they're gonna be for historic. Some of the main event, a Raging Bull with Lesnar. Yep, exactly. Um, Rusev and Big Cass. I agree with that. I think that's definitely gonna be an interesting feud, especially with Enzo by the ringside with Lana. That'll be great. It lets Rusev do something. It lets Rusev get the wins that he needs to progress without still dealing with Roman Reigns, and it helps Big Cass, who arguably people are saying should be main event status. Maybe not yet, but I just think we're in that weird void where you have the U.S. title, who, quote me if I'm wrong, but actually I can't really remember any real Roman Reigns during the show. I mean, it's, I guess, one occurrence, but I think I can't really remember anything memorable from Roman during the show. So I hope we're not going to a stale period with the U.S. title where it's just on Roman to be on him. So Enzo Amore, manager of the year. I like him when he wrestles because he's a guy who's over, that a heel could just beat up and be like, ha ha, I beat up the little ruffian scrap, and then Big Cass comes in and just wrecks. So that's definitely that. Anything else for Raw? Really not too much I can say. Rich Swann will be going on to face the man with a plan, Brian Kendrick. I, for one, am not crazy about it because I'm not a Rich Swann fan. I'm pretty decent Brian Kendrick fan. I've always been a Perkins fan. I've always loved. See, I can't say that actually because I didn't like the last stuff he was doing in TNA with Manic, but when he was doing other indie shows and when he was doing, the original, Manic Suicide, whatever. I really like that, but later editions, I did not like that at all. And in WWE, really big fan of him. Noam Dar, great wrestler. I mean, I didn't really get exposed to too much Noam Dar because I think British wrestling in the last couple of years have really boomed for us to be exposed to them. So I think that's where my fanship of Noam Dar and a lot of these other British wrestlers are coming in right now, especially. So Rich Swann, I just got to get used to it. In my opinion, I think he'll be pretty good, pretty decent. He's over with the crowd. That's the thing. As an internet smart mark, whatever. I'm not crazy about Rich Swann, but Brian Kendrick, Rich Swann next week for 205 Live. Yeah. Brian Kendrick's got to retain it. That would be crazy if they dropped it on Rich Swann. I honestly would have loved to see another TJ Perkins title reign. I mean, at least it'll be like the first one ever, like the Finn Balor effect. Dar's getting there, really enjoying Kendrick's promos. Kendrick is a freaking great heel. I mean, he's just a dick to the cruiserweights. I really just would have loved to see Sin Cara and him just fight it out. I definitely want to see if there's a fight now between Sin Cara and Chris Jericho for wearing Sin Cara's mask. I like to think that Chris Jericho beat up Sin Cara backstage and took his mask, and that's the reason why he had it. Probably not, though, but that's a possibility. So, but I'll let one little row of questions come in real quick from the live stream, and then I'll give my review of it, final thoughts, whatever, going into SmackDown, and we'll call it a stream, man. We'll go. Good night. Go to bed, everybody. It's late. It's late out there, no matter where you live. Hopefully British wrestlers like Skrull, Sabre, and Haskins join them. Haskins can't. I don't know if you heard, Mark Haskins has this really bad neck thing. So he's kind of just enjoying time with his son, because it was his birthday. I saw on like Facebook because I'm friends with him or whatever. So It's really sad for Mark Haskins. He's a hell of a wrestler. Uh, I'm not too big on Marty Scurll. I'm I think that's one thing I differ from a lot of people is I'm not big on Marty Scurll. Um, Big booty villains. Zack Sabre Jr. I don't know why he's not in the WWE. I think it might be that Kota Ibushi where he might have turned down a deal. I don't know. So Sin Cara is undefeated in locker room altercations. It's crazy to think. If you think of it this way, Sin Cara beat up the guy that beat up Goldberg. Therefore, Sin Cara can beat up Goldberg. At least in backstage fights. So, Plane Ride from Hell 2.0, now featuring Chris Jericho, Goldberg, Sin Cara, and many other people wrestling on the floor. And then Emergency Hatch breaks up or whatever. But, yes, one last question. And then I'll give you, I guess, my number review. Just gimmicky, whatever. So, if you have any questions about, like, what I'm thinking tag team wise, women's wrestling wise, main event scene, cruiserweights, anything really kind of sort of pertaining to Raw. Hopefully you don't give me a Goldberg question because I kind of feel like I let everything out on that subject. Because I mean, WWE did their job. They really wanted to give you something that was opinionated, just like the Randy Orton thing. They gave you something that was opinionated. So, outlook on pro wrestling for the week. I've been really biased lately. So if you're watching this and you're a huge WWE mark, don't even look at like the next 5 seconds. But this company right here, without a doubt, TNA, they're killing it. TNA's killing it. If TNA had better exposure, and just a little bit more money, and backstage, if they were smarter, TNA would be doing great, even better than what they're doing now. I think wrestling-wise, they're telling a great story, and they're pretty decent in the ring too. I think these last couple weeks it could be a little bit better in the ring, but story-wise, they're doing really good because they have that 2-hour product. That, in my opinion, is something that compared to WWE, the 3 hours, and then another 2 hours the next day, and then 205 Live coming up, and then NXT. So it's very daunting for a WWE fan. But when you look at TNA, they only have 2 hours, and their tape shows. It's much more easier to work with. So I'd say, sadly, we might not see WWE gimmicky Thanksgiving at all, unless it's Smackdown, which will be weird. But SmackDown will be decent. I don't think SmackDown will be crazy good for some reason. I just get a feeling that we won't see anything too crazy for SmackDown. I think this will be a rest week for SmackDown, and then next week will be a big one. NXT, really looking forward to see what's going to go on with NXT. Maybe Nakamura debuts tomorrow at SmackDown if he does. I don't think he will, but that'd be cool. That'd be decent. It'd be decent if anybody debuted in SmackDown, because I think SmackDown needs one more person to show up, especially for Miz, because I don't want to see Ziggler and Miz fight forever. That's one duo I don't want to see. So Lucha, I haven't kept up with Lucha because I'm at college during Lucha, and I kind of just see highlights of NXT. I don't want to see highlights of Lucha. I want to see the whole thing of Lucha, in my opinion. So that's why I kind of wait till the end, I think, and I'm just gonna binge watch, all the episodes I've missed. New Japan's doing pretty decent. ROH, I've never been too crazy about ROH, honestly. That's one thing I can say. WCPW has been pretty good recently. I really recommend you watch WCPW for these past few weeks. They've actually been really, really decent with Cody Rhodes stuff. And, everybody else, Martin Kirby, and everybody else, El Ligero, people really putting in the work, especially the Kurt Angle match. Even though Cody Rhodes has been losing every week. But there's that Hardy Thanksgiving for TNA. I think this is what we need to see, is a Matt Hardy Thanksgiving. So, other than that, let's wrap it up real quick. My review for Monday Night Raw, the go home Raw for Thanksgiving, I guess, or the aftermath of Survivor Series. I'm gonna give it 8. I'm gonna give it a solid 8, maybe 7.5. So it was decent. It had some flaws. I like the direction of the women's right now. Do not like the direction of the tag teams. I don't. I really don't. I think, especially for them to win the tag team, most entertaining tag team dominance, whatever. No. Main event scene, doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. U.S. title scene doesn't exist right now. Rusev feud, pretty good. And Goldberg stuff is entertaining if you're a Goldberg fan. And if you're not, then it's entertaining to see what Lesnar's gonna do to Goldberg next. So, yeah, decent show. Any wrestling fan will like it. So, till next time.